Well, thanks for joining us today. I'm Emily Masters from Windom Area Health. I will be talking a little bit about what kind of healthcare careers we have available here at the hospital. And then I have Abby Kipfer with me, and she'll be leading the activity. So I'm going to share my screen. You can see my presentation. All right, can you see it? Give the thumbs up if you can see my presentation. Okay, thank you. All right, so as I mentioned, my name is Emily Masters. I'm the Chief Human Relations Officer here at the hospital. I oversee all of human resources, so anything from recruitment to benefits to employee relations to some legal issues and things like that. And then also under my scope is marketing and social media, a lot of the events that the hospital puts on, as well as community health and wellness. That encompasses both community efforts to be healthier, as well as our fitness center and group fitness classes, and then also employee health and safety. My background is that I have a bachelor's degree in human resources and business from the University of St. Thomas. I was born here in Windom, lived in the Twin Cities for about 15 years, and then came back and have been in this role for about 8 years. And with me is Abby.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Abby Kipfer. I am the Director of Nutritional Services here at Windom Area Health. I'm a registered dietitian, and with that, I oversee a few different areas. So I oversee nutritional services. So that's like our cafeteria where public can come to eat, our employees or staff here at the hospital, as well as serving our patients who are staying in the hospital. And then I also work with our inpatient and outpatients. So inpatients, they are staying in the hospital. So maybe they're here because they just had surgery or needing more time to recover. And so I visit with them. Maybe they have different diet requirements. So maybe a heart healthy diet, or maybe they have some food allergies or need to be on a gluten-free diet. And I can work with them with that. And then outpatient services. So that's where they're coming to see me for appointments. So maybe somebody who's a newly diagnosed diabetic, they can come and see me to see what they should be doing with their diet. And then I also work with our community health. And so trying to get the people in Windom and surrounding areas healthier. So like right now I have a Healthy Together class. So it's for the community members to come in, and we meet with them several times and go over different healthy lifestyle topics and habits. And then, or sometimes I'll work with the schools for different programs too. And then employee screening. So I oversee some of the different COVID screening, kind of a new hat that got added with COVID. So I oversee a lot of different areas, and that's something that I love about working in a smaller hospital, is I can have my hands on different projects and in departments that maybe I wouldn't be able to at a larger facility. And I've been here about 2 years. I went to SDSU in South Dakota State for 4 years, and then I got my master's at Illinois State for 2 years.
Thanks, Abby. So here at Windom Area Health, we employ about 160 employees, and that's grown since I started from about 130. So we've had growth in the last few years, which is a great thing to see in healthcare. Sometimes that's not the case. When you think about all the employees that we have here, top of the mind, hospital, you think of doctors and nurses. We don't employ any doctors per se, but we do employ quite a few nursing staff. So we do have nurses in our emergency room, in obstetrics, which is OB or our birthplace, in the inpatient wing, where you might go if you're ill and recovering from just being sick or from surgery. And then we also have nurses in our wound center and our clinic. So there's a few different ways you can be a nurse. There's a licensed practical nurse, which is an LPN, and that's a 1-year program. Or you can be a registered nurse, which is an RN. And those are the designation that we hire most often. And an RN is usually a 2 or a 4-year program. And most often than not nowadays, we are seeing more and more come out with 4-year degrees. So a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing, or a BSN. And that's preferred by the healthcare industry now too. So anywhere from 1 to 4 years, you can have a nursing degree. We also do employ nurse practitioners, which are RNs that have went and got additional schooling and additional training in a specialty. So once you have a nurse practitioner degree, you can really operate more like a doctor. You can see patients and you can be diagnosing them. We also employ a lot of other clinical positions. So we employ lab technicians, and that can be anywhere from 2 to 4 years of schooling. Minnesota West has some great lab tech opportunities. Imaging or radiology, that's where you're taking x-rays, you're doing CT scans, ultrasounds, maybe mammography, those types of things as well. And that is also a 2-year program. Minnesota West is where we get a lot of our hires from as well, from radiology. Also, registered dietitians, and I'll let Abby talk a little bit about what was required to get her degree.
So there's a few different steps, like many of these degrees, but to become a dietitian, you do require a 4-year undergraduate degree in dietetics or dietetic related nutritional field. And then right now, you're not required to get a master's degree, but most of the programs are transitioning to that because in 2024, which really is not that far away, a master's degree will be required. So that would be 2 additional years getting your master's of science. And that a lot of the time is paired with an internship program, which is a specific accredited program to give you some hands-on clinical experience.
Thanks, Abby. We also have a rehab department, and that has 3 different specialties in it. So there's physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy. And to be a therapist, you also have to go to 4 years of school and then an additional 2 years at least. So they actually come out having a doctorate of physical therapy. They've just kind of changed that in the last few years. But we have a lot of students that come through high school and are kind of interested in those careers, because sometimes athletes, if they have an injury or trying to recover, they might be coming through our therapy department and see the impact that can have and the way that they can help people with those careers. So a lot of interest in therapy careers with students. And then we also have another type of therapy called respiratory therapy. And that also is anywhere from like a 2 or a 4-year degree program. There's both of those types. And that type of therapy looks at lung capacity and lung issues and things that affect your lungs. And then here at the hospital, our respiratory therapist also manages the sleep study program, which looks at different, breathing issues with sleep. So a lot of different ways that if you think you want to be in a career where you want to help people, be hands-on helping people, a lot of different careers here for that. But if you're like me and you're really woozy in those situations and patient care and the kind of the crisis situation might not be for you, there are also a lot of opportunities here behind the scenes. So a couple of those include social work, maintenance, so more technical or trades type of careers where they're dealing with HVAC systems, some electrical, general repair, and all of that. And then we have a whole department for health information management and coding. And so they take an electronic medical record, an encounter with a patient, and they put it into different codes, and that's what gets sent off to the insurance companies for billing and for insurance purposes. We also have another department that's in our business office. So anything from registering patients when they come in for a visit, making sure we have all the information right and their insurance is going to get billed the way it should, billing, and then scheduling appointments. So those are more office type of roles. We have IT here. We have marketing, as I mentioned, that's under my scope, and we do anything from graphic design to paper and billboard ads to social media, event planning. Human resources, which is usually has a specific schooling. We have one HR professional here that does a lot in payroll and benefits, and the other one that does a lot of our recruiting. And then wellness. So one of our wellness staff is a personal trainer. The other one specializes more in like community programs. So a lot of different career opportunities here. As a student, even as an eighth grader, you can, be prepared to think about how you're going to get some career experiences while you're in middle and high school. So for us here at the hospital, we're really committed to student experiences. So in Windom, there's a medical careers class. I know that in other school districts, there's similar curriculum, but we're really involved in that class. We provide speakers, we provide opportunities to those students, making sure they get some of that hands-on. We do a lot of job shadows. So that's anywhere from a short amount of time, maybe 2 to 4 hours to maybe 20 hours, just depending on what that student is looking for, where you're just observing a professional in their career. It just can help you kind of get a feel for what either you like that or you don't like it. Might not be a decision maker for forever, but you can at least get a feel for that kind of career. We do offer internships here, 2 to 4 paid internships a year in the summer. We have 2 in our rehab therapy department, 1 in dietary and 1 in wellness this summer. We also work very closely with the schools. I've mentioned Minnesota West a couple of times. We also work with Presentation College and a couple others in hosting their students as a part of their clinical rotations. And then we do hire high school students as well. You have to be 16, but we've hired high schoolers in our dietary department as screeners, and wellness. We're looking for a high school intern right now as well. So what we expect out of our, students as you're coming in the door is being prepared, don't procrastinate, make sure you're giving yourself some time. And because we do require quite a bit of our students, we require immunizations to be current. We require you to get a TB test. You're going to be inside here, you're going to be with our patients. So we have to protect our patients and making sure that, we have some of those requirements met by the students coming in as well. Being professional, being engaged, asking questions, and then giving us feedback as well. One thing that we really hold dear is our patient privacy and confidentiality. So we do a lot of training with that when we even have students here for a short amount of time. So what you can expect doing a job shadow or being here as a student intern is some work up front, getting ready to have that experience. But you would get to shadow a professional in their field and get a feel for that. You might be exposed to some patient information, which we hold dear. Like I said, we give you training on what to do with that. And really you just learn what you might like and not like. We had a student come in for a job shadow. This is a couple years ago, but she really wanted to be in the surgery department. And so she came in first day, following those nurses, went into a procedure and fainted. And kind of an unfortunate situation for her, but at least she kind of got that experience and maybe could say, healthcare might be of interest to me, but maybe it's not surgery. Maybe it's something else that she'd be better equipped for. So I think we'll turn to Abby with the activity for today.
All right.
Stop sharing.
Sounds good. Okay, so first, before we do the activity, I just wanted to talk a little bit. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be thickening juices. And so this is something that I work with, our kitchen works with, our nursing staff, they work with this, and our speech therapist, she works really closely with this too. So sometimes patients, anywhere from babies until they're 100 years old or older, they might have issues with swallowing. And something that can be difficult to swallow is your thin liquids. So just think about your like water consistency. So what happens with some of these people is when they drink, some of that water might be going into their lungs instead of going back into their esophagus. And most of us, we might feel that, and we might be able to cough to kind of direct it to the right to the right area. But sometimes in some of these cases, their nerves, or they don't realize that it's going into their lungs. And so they're not coughing it out. And then that can cause further issues, maybe cause aspiration pneumonia, an infection in their lungs, which is not a good thing. So for some of our patients, they need to be on a modified diet or modified liquids. And so by thickening liquids, it's easier for our body to manipulate them to go to where they need to go. So go into the esophagus instead of going through your windpipe, going into your lungs. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to thicken a liquid. Now it's just going to be it's our lowest level of thickness. And so it's called mildly thick. It used to be called nectar thick. And there's different levels. So mildly thick, and then moderately thick, which is a little bit more like a honey consistency, and then extremely thick, which is more like a pudding consistency. And a lot of the times the speech therapist works really closely with this patient to determine what the safest level is for them. And then this can also translate into their foods too. And so that they might have to have pureed foods. Maybe they're having issues chewing or swallowing foods as well. So, but today we're gonna work on thickening a liquid using our gel thickener. So what I need you to do is get out of your from your yellow bag is this. There should be a cup, a fork, a juice, and a little thickener packet. So go ahead and dig that out of your bag. Hopefully you can find that. And the thickeners that we use here at the hospital, it's called Simply Thick. It's a gel thickener, super simple to use. And like I said, our kitchen, they use it if we have patients who need to have thickened liquids. Our nursing staff does that, thickens liquids. All right, does everybody have their cup? Sure. Okay. So get your cup, your juice. So this juice is a half of a cup, and the ratios are really important. And you can see on the cup, it does have a 4-ounce marker and an 8-ounce marker. So we have a pre-portioned out packet. At nursing homes, when they do a lot of thickened liquid, it actually comes in a big jug, and then they just have to do a certain number of pumps of the thickener to coincide with the amount. So go ahead and open up your grape juice and pour it into your cup. Hopefully you don't spill any. I spilled some the last time and my desk is still sticky. And you can see when you're pouring it how thin it is, right? So kind of look at your glass, swirl it around, and kind of see. That's just the same consistency as water would be, right? It's not very thick. That's just a nice, thin, normal consistency to us. And most of us, no problem. No problem with trying to drink something like that. Okay, now go ahead. You should have a pink packet. If anybody has a yellow packet, that's just a bonus packet that you can bring home and show your family. But the pink packet, go ahead and open it and add it to your juice. And try to get all of it in there. All right. And then you're going to take your fork and you're going to stir it. So this disperses the gel thickener throughout the liquid. And you're supposed to do it for about 30 seconds. And the fork, you can do it with a spoon, but the fork's going to be the preferred method just because it gets it distributed better. One of the benefits of using the gel thickener instead of what we used to use was a powdered thickener. With the gel thickener, we can leave this and it'll be the same consistency for days versus the powdered. It would continue to thicken as it sat. And we also weren't able to thicken hot things like coffee or tea or things with carbonation like pop versus this gel thickener is awesome. We can thicken it. Okay, so hopefully you got yours stirred up. Now kind of swirl it around in the glass. You can see it's definitely a little bit thicker consistency. So again, this is called mildly thick. So it's like a nectar consistency. So not almost like a milkshake consistency. It's not too thick where we can't, do it through a straw, because we could do that, but it's going to be a little bit more challenging than your regular liquid. So go ahead and try it. See what you think. Can you tell, does it taste any different? The gel stuff, it doesn't have any particular taste to it, but sometimes the consistency, you can kind of tell it's a little bit different. So think about some of those elderly population, they don't have good hunger or thirst cues. Their brain doesn't prompt them to say, hey, I need to drink something, I should eat something. And so it's easier for them to get dehydrated. But then could you imagine if you had to put this in all of your water or anything that you drank, it's really easy for that population to get dehydrated. So even like the thickest kind, so that's like a pudding consistency, it's called extremely thick. And that, you can't drink it out of a cup, you have to spoon it in. So think how weird that would be that would be how you would have to drink all of your water, is with a spoon. So dehydration is a very common concern. So the speech therapist, so we have a speech therapist here at the hospital. She is the one who works closely with the patient. She does a swallow study, and sometimes she'll even do a barium swallow study. So that's working in our imaging department to really see, is that food, what consistency is going to be best for them? Is it going into the esophagus like it's supposed to, or is it going into the trachea and into the lungs like we don't want it to? So lots of different options with this. Hopefully, I don't know, can I see a thumbs up? Did anybody try it and think it was okay? Did it taste okay? Didn't really notice the difference? Awesome. So when I was in, oh no, thumbs down, double thumbs down. Uh-oh. Yeah, just think you'd probably be dehydrated too. I know if I had to go thicker, so this is just mildly thick, but then our honey thick, our moderately thick, that's definitely different. And I think the juices taste better than just doing it with water, but it's crazy, the difference. But when I was in 7th grade and I had to take a careers class, we had to take like a placement quiz. So learning what our skills best matched up with what career paths. And maybe you guys have done something like that at your schools, doing a careers placement test. But my test came back with my 3 top matches. One was being an elementary teacher, which that's a lot of work. I don't know if that's a good fit for me. Being a pastor, which that's not something I was interested in either. And then the third one was a taxi driver. So I have no desire to be a taxi driver. I'm very bad at directions and I would be an awful taxi driver. But so at that time, I decided to, instead of looking into any of those suggested fields, I looked into being a dietitian. So when I was in 7th grade, I decided I was going to be a dietitian. And it's in between now and then, I did make some different changes or ideas of different career paths, but I stuck to it, and I did a senior project on nutrition, and I worked with with some people at the hospital when I was a senior, and it's just kind of crazy. It went full circle. But don't feel like in 8th grade, don't feel like you need to have it figured out. This is a great opportunity to just start thinking about things. You'll probably change your mind several times between now and then, and you'll probably change your mind in college as well, and that's normal. But whatever you decide to do, I do encourage you to do some kind of job shadowing and get some different hands-on experiences, because, you know, you can look at what the job's like on paper, but it's very different when you're actually, you know, seeing it and seeing the impact. And I think that's a great opportunity. So if you ever have a chance to do some job shadowing, we, like Emily said, we love to have students. Okay, that's all that I have. Did you guys have any questions about the hands-on activity, thickening the juices, anything like that? Does anybody know anybody who has to use thickened juices? Maybe grandparents or great-grandparents? Have you ever seen that before? I know I really hadn't seen it before until I was in a nursing home setting. So
Any questions on other healthcare careers or opportunities here at the hospital?
Nothing. Crickets.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's our presentation today. Thank you for attending and doing our activity with us.
2, 3, go.
Thank you. Have a good rest of your day. Enjoy learning about all the different areas.